Hello, y'all. How's it going? What is this stream, you may ask? Well, usually would have done a Zelda, Wind Waker playthrough stream today, it being Monday and all, but had some issues with that. Turns out I didn't save last time I played that game, so would have had to go through the 2 dungeons again. Hello, X-Men. So, decided instead we'll do that tomorrow, and wanted to still do a stream tonight, especially since I've been trying to find time to do a stream wherein I work on Mario making, specifically this level, and that is this stream. It is past midnight, so I will say I don't plan on this going like too long, maybe an hour or 2, and I'll say, X-Man, look in the tags, there's no viewer levels there. That is because this is a making stream. I'll be working on this level, and I want to try to flesh it out. You might have already noticed some stuff about it. Let me say what this level is. This is Ripsaw Rainbow. You know what? I got this thing. Get that up, and then I will pull up the balloons. Where are the balloons? Right here. It is the 37th level of my my super world, which, I'll say this level I've been on for a while now, at least over a month, and it's like barely started. I just haven't found the time for one reason or another, and that's what I want to do tonight right here, is find some time and start like figuring out what the fuck this is gonna be. And how exactly it's all going to come together in the end. I have some basic ideas here. Like, I think it'd be, it's called Sawmill Ripsaw Rainbow, so it's gotta have the saws. It's gotta have rainbows as an element. But in my initial testing, I think I stumbled upon some good ideas, but nothing that quite has enough spice, I think. And that, I think, is the goal here tonight, is to put together some ideas that have some spice to them. You might notice there's one thing that wasn't here last week, the Friday stream. I have added one little element of spice here. Let's say I made that jump. Skull rafts are a thing that I've been playing around with for this, just because they haven't been used all that much in the super world. So, if they could be used here, that would be great, actually. Kind of works, but also... I'll tell you one thing I noticed about this part right here. Wait, fuck. Well, whatever, you know what? I'll get into that in a minute, in a bit. Anyway, that's the concept of the stream. Let me get the balloons out of the way. Forgot about them for a minute. I'll say one more thing, and that is that... 2 more things. One, Wind Waker stream tomorrow, Tuesday, at the normal time. Before this stream here, I spent some time, replaying those dungeons and watching The Sopranos. So I was able to get us all caught up. And tomorrow we'll be able to do that stream, like, starting from the Triforce Hunt. And also with more rupees than we had before, so I'm pretty sure. So, we can pay off Tingle, I guess, do whatever. That's all fine. The other thing is that there is a Game Pass stream on Thursday. That'll be this Thursday. One thing I did notice about that is that Vemba has just been added to Game Pass like today, so that's going to be one that will come up during Thursday's stream, as well as a bunch of others from the last few months, or from whenever. Stuff that I haven't seen before on Game Pass, and stuff that I saw and thought, oh, I should play that. I've never played that. I should play that. We'll see. That'll be Thursday. Anyway, that about... I think I've explained what's coming up in the next few days well enough as far as the schedule goes. For tonight, just gonna spend an hour or two making, and here's the two thrust of it. First, I want prototype ideas. I think this level needs some spicing up, and one part of that is these guys here. These guys here are brand new, haven't been in the level before. I also consider doing like some spring stuff, but I don't think that's going to be the approach. I think it'd be cool to have these guys like flying in on you and being like, you know, a real nuisance. The other thing I think is that, well, I think we do need to use the cape, since the cape has not been used in like nearly any other Super Mario World levels in this Super World, so I have to do that. That's the other thing I know. Oh, and one thing I was gonna say earlier is that it turns out if you just like don't even engage with the other crafts, you can get to 50. So this setup is not as good as I thought it was previously. You know, not as compelling as a scenario for a 50 coin. The setup is not great. I mean, let's get rid of this. This ain't it. Now, question is, what is it? Let's start brainstorming then, I guess. One thing I will say is that I did like try out this in the subworld, and it is worth knowing that if the saws are not on rails, these guys, they bounce off the saws. So, could do some stuff where like you're going through areas where you're just like being hounded down by a bunch of these guys, and then slipping through like a wall of saws or something, or like some sort of saw field where you have to like make a very precise jump. And you know, no matter how many of them there are, they can't really follow you. I think that's kind of cool. Like something like this would be cool. How's that work with capes? And also, if the subworld is to be vertical, which I'm not 100% on, I'll say, for what it's worth. If the subworld is to be vertical, then can like bound off some of the areas a little bit with like layers of saws. Now, I can't remember if saws like count towards your item limits, because if so, then like spamming them is gonna like get us right into problem territory like before too long. So we ought to be a little bit, you know, we have to pick and choose, right? We have to use them strategically. That's kind of not good. See that? As you're jumping up here, you don't see the higher saw. Stuff like that, you know, you gotta be aware of. Unless you do something like route the player this way. Then they will necessarily, oopsie daisy, not tall and not low enough. They will necessarily like scroll the camera in doing it. You know, in platforming, you know? It doesn't have to be a vertical sublevel, I'll say. You know, if like creating these horizontal lines of saws is gonna be prohibitive design-wise, it could always just be horizontal. One thing I have been thinking is I think it'd be cool structurally if the first half took you into the vertical section and the second half was more horizontal. Sort of a reversal of what I've done in like nearly every other one of these levels. Also, I'm just gonna delete all this stuff. I've already made a copy of the older version that I used to have, so, you know, don't have to worry about any of that. The other thing I am thinking, the saws don't have to move. You know, there was a level during the last viewer level stream. The sort of like, you know, was maybe more towards like saws. That was just like full, like a sky saturated with saws. And I think it really got the saw aspect of it more. The saw part was more pronounced than in this level, where there's just like moving ones in like weird patterns, you know? Like this isn't so much saws as it is just like a smidge of saws. Also, they can be a bit awkward to jump over, you know, as they move. Let's take this all back. Instead, try a little thing where it's just like saws, saws. And maybe one to jump over. Maybe it's more like there's like areas that are just like saturated like this. And you don't even need to fill it up all the way up to the sky, you know. It's not like the guys are gonna go high to go over. They're not that smart. They're going at Mario. This amount of like saw blade stuff also prevents the player from like flying if they were to get the cape by here, but you know, they wouldn't also. Okay. Let's try this out. I like jumping over these guys. Pretty good. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna add a 10 coin here. Move this up a little bit. Up, and yeah, like that. 10 coin more like that. Sort of forms a nice arc. And we're gonna add like an enemy that will be a little bit of a challenge. What kind of enemy should we add? Whatever it is, it can't kill a Podobo. And I think that's, you know... Honestly, I don't think most anything can kill a Podobo, so I think we're good. Big Koopa. Usually not a challenging enemy, but if you're dealing with him at the same time. What if there's like a bunch of them in a row? That's a very Mario World thing. Actually, just like a line of Koopas. And in this specific setup, this makes it so that you can't just, like, go through there. You know, you either have to jump really good and, like, really thread that needle, or you have to do a thing where you, like, clear the guys out. I kind of like that. I kind of like the row of Koopas. I think that's really... I think that's kind of something, you know? That sort of has some flavor to it, and also it's a type of enemy that obviously cannot fall off platforms. So these semi-solids that are pretty flat actually suits them just well. You know, just good. That's pretty good. See this? We're getting some good stuff. Hang on. I mean, I almost think like maybe they should be a little bit farther out, so... I honestly kind of like that you have to wait a little bit. I think it's better that you have to wait a little bit. Put like, some guys there, or some coins there, and like pull these guys forward a bit. Add some more saws over here. What else can we do? Let's come up with some more ideas. One thing I believe is that every level, every good level in a good platformer has more than one idea, you know? Just as many ideas as the creators could think of. Or, like, not as many ideas, but, like, in every really good DKC, Super Mario level, whatever, there's, like, multiple ideas that they're playing with, you know? Multiple ideas that they're, like, building up, combining, giving to you in different ways that all, like, you know, work together. So we need more than just, like, oh, we got the saws, we got the big bumpy guys, and then we got the Koopas. You know, we need a little bit more than that. Also, it is worth considering, like, should these be Buzzy Beetles instead? Because these guys, you know, they're gonna, like, bust out of their shells. It's gonna be weird, you know? Like, is that weird to have that guy just be, like, out of his shell? You know, should we instead be doing Buzzy Beetles? I mean, Buzzy Beetles, I don't think they've been used that much in the Super World either. I don't know, I kind of like the Super Mario Worldiness of it, you know? Feels a little bit more like Super Mario World to me. If it's just like, you know, you think of like the 1-1, is that 1-1? I'm not sure if that's 1-1 or 1-2. But one of the very, very early levels of Super Mario World has that exact setup. And I'm tempted to just put the 10 down here. Even, like, kind of feels more natural to want to kick the shell. One other thing I need to think about. I can use walls to like section off these areas as well. And that would also be like better on my object resource, you know, limit. I don't know. Let's just take things one at a time. Let's just move to the right and start prototyping a new thing. Cheap Cheeps. Cheap Cheeps would be pretty dangerous in this level. Say you have like some sort of situation where it's, you know, if you look at this situation here, one of the reasons why these guys start to feel a little deadly is you sort of have to wait a second for them to come out, though. Let's make it like a second less. I feel like players are gonna find that more frustrating, maybe, than anything. There we go, that's pretty easy, and not really that different in placements. That feels good. Well, let's say, for sake of example, there's a similar situation here, where there's like a gap. And here comes a bunch of fishies. Let's say it's one of these, bumpy guys again. You could imagine scenarios like this being contrived where, like, oh, you know, you go over here. No, you're not gonna wait there. You're just gonna barrel through. In fact, you're not really served by, like, waiting. That guy in the gap, maybe. Okay. One thing is that these bumpy guys, they're not really... They're so big, it's kind of hard to jump over them without any sort of help. You know, which I think adds to their threat value. But maybe some of them should be small so that, like, you can more easily deal with them, you know, without, like, adding additional platforms to go, like, ugh. Without adding additional platforms to go, like, ugh. Those fish were not much of a threat at all. I don't think the fisherettes. The Koopa row is good, but also I think that needs to be used very sparingly. That's not a mechanic. That's not a thing you can just have like 20 times, 12 times in a level. That's something that you can maybe have 3 of, tops. So let's not rest on our laurels. Let's not, you know, we need to come up with more. Bombs. Can bombs kill Potobos? Bring me one of them to here. I don't think so. Unless the explosion can do it. Nope. Okay. Could be bombs. Bombs are always fun. Bombs from the sky, you know. Like parachuting guys that are just like exploding above your head even. Making it dangerous to like jump in this area. So you can't just like jump over the guy. Let's see. Too low. Okay, let's pull it back to like there. And yeah. Well, that did make it so that, like, jumping was dangerous. Maybe it'd be better if it was, like, if they were, like, more of a vertical line rather than a horizontal one, and they just made it dangerous to go forward for, like, a minute. I tell you, I think one problem with this level right now is that I don't really have, like, a firm idea of what exactly it is I'm trying to build. You know, what kind of level do I picture this as? You know, what DKC type... What am I pulling from? Is the question here. Right? And, honestly, I'm just drawing a blank right now. I guess the question is, like, what kind of level... What kind of DKC level is just, like, airspace full of like, spinies, you know? It's full of, like, enemies that are just, like, cancerous to the touch, you know? You can't touch them. Maybe that's where I need to take this. You know, trying to find... Oh, there's some of these. Trying to find, like, the right answer there. I don't know. Maybe also I don't need to be hung up so much on the skull rafts. I mean, hey, maybe the world, Super World just doesn't have a level that uses the skull rafts properly. Would that be so bad a thing? I don't know. Maybe. Like, everything else has been used is the thing. What happens if Pavlok hits these guys? Nothing. Okay. So we could use Pavloks or something. It doesn't really connect. Icicles. Could use icicles for something. Could use twisters. Were there bonsai bills in the last level? Yes, there was, famously. That was, like, one of the big things of that last level. Vines for climbing. Did skewers come up? Have I used skewers? Let me check. Let me look. I don't remember what level uses skewers. Definitely wasn't an earlier one. I feel like skewers are really just, like, left out for the longest time. Unmoored mines. Did unmoored mines... I don't think this one used skewers. Oh yeah, Koopaverse 3 Meteor Meltdown had skewers in it. Okay. I have used skewers. Yeah, that's checked off. Yeah, so skewers are good. We don't need to, like, fit in skewers or something. But we could if we wanted to. You know... Honestly, the skewers are kind of redundant with the ripsaws. You know? If it's Ripsaw Rainbow. The saws need to be in, like, a starring role here. What about tires? When was the last time I did tire stuff? Oh, I know the answer. It's Cold Ice Comet. Cold Ice Comet had some of those guys. Still, could have some of them here. They sort of are like the alternative to the saw, so it would make sense, I guess. And also would give you, like, a fun way of, like, getting up onto high up rainbows, maybe. That's really what these things are good at, you know? In like, earlier testing that I did for earlier levels. Whoa, shit! Okay, sometimes those guys, they don't behave, you know? Jesus! Tough motherfuckers. Try this again. So it can be used to, like, really ascend really quickly. Not sure that these guys throw their thing fast enough to be dangerous. What else is good? Bullet bills. Put some bullet bills on some, like, floating platform or something. That'd be fun. Let's try that out. A good, like, bullet bill step thing is just very classic Mario World. And also goes well with the cape, because the cape, you know, can sort of hit those bullet bills as they're coming your way. The only thing here is that by the time they're activating, you know, if I had not stopped, for instance, I'd be on top of them by the time they fired. So here, they just never fired because I was just too fast. Just too fast for them. You know? I do like things like this. They'll, like, require you to maneuver over and go under before doing a thing. And I do think that this, like, Dry Bones Tower has some serious potential, you know, to be, like, a dangerous enemy for a late game level such as this one. And, you know, it can only be in this level because the rest of the levels in this world are gonna be other types. You know, not world. This is, by the way, the last world level in my super world. Could there be parts where you're, like, dropping through layers of saws? I've done, like, blue platform stuff relatively recently. But you could have something like this where you jump through, you fall, and then you jump through some more saws. That kind of works. No, it doesn't have to be that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be a blue plat, it can be one of these. Maybe a gray one of these specifically. And just put, like, enough saws where it's going, where that you have to get off. That works. The only thing is that it's not that much different from a blue platform if you're not, you know, if the gameplay isn't to, like, reboard it or something, you know? If the gameplay is to just, like, jump off it immediately, then it's basically just a blue plat. In all but name, you know? Let's try making it so that you do have to, like, ride it for a bit before jumping off. So here, just have, like, require you to duck before, like, jumping off. Let's say. And of course, we will have to position things where you can see it ahead of time. Oh, one second. Make it so that there's like a thing here so you can't just duck under it. And also lower this one by 1 to make it easier to jump over. And there'd be like coins or something to indicate like go under. You know, to help out. It's not so bad. Just like add some enemies that are like troubling you during this. And you kind of have something here. What if a small one? We should try a small one. So you go under, you duck. Those guys, that's too overeager here. What if there's like a blue plat? Not blue plat, blue raft like here. That you can use as like an escape as those guys are coming at you. I'm gonna have to come up with ways where... Well, that kind of works. That's kind of cool. Ways to make sure that you have to leave the platform. One thing that is difficult about this design is that solids, we don't have anything of the sort. You know, because we're doing with Rainbow as well. I have an idea. We got 4 colors of pipes. Well, why don't we just have, like, rainbow pipes on occasion? Roy... G... Above. Some rainbow pipes along the way that are always in, like, sets of 4 or something. And that makes it so that we can have some terrain other than, like, rainbows. You know? I have a feeling that's it. That's the answer. Let's make these guys bigger, too. And that'll make it so that, that'll make it so that you have to do things other than just, you can't just ride the platform to the end, in other words. I'm gonna overlay some rainbows like this. And, I don't know. 30 coin. Let's get rid of this 30 coin for now. It's not gonna be like that. Obviously. Another possibility would be to have like skull rafts where once you activate them, they sort of take your enemies away for you. But nah, I don't think so. I don't think that's the answer. It's not like a blue plat where it just would kill them immediately. They would linger for way too long. It'd be weird. Try this again. Oh wow, you can just slide under there. That works too. One thing about that is the ride feels too short. So let's move it back a bit. I will say, we do have to be concerned with, like, real estate. Like, a blue platform ride will just eat up the horizontal, like, length of a level if you let it. So, you know, we need to not let it, in other words. That is a concern of mine, but it kind of goes with the territory of a level with, like, blue raft rides. And as far as, like, length goes, if this level has sections like that, and sections like this, where you sort of have to, like this part up top, where you have to sort of, like, wait a tick. You know, where you have to sort of wait a tick for your opening. Then it almost, like, makes up for it a little bit, you know. What if also, put a tire here? What if you had to, like... Not sure if this is gonna work, but... What if you had to, like... bounce up through some saws? Doesn't have to be like... Could be more like this, where one saw is like offset a little bit from the rainbow. Does the tire look good on the rainbow? I kind of like... That tire kind of looks good hanging off that rainbow. That's not bad. Get rid of these guys. They're not needed anymore. But add some of these guys right here. I'm not sure how the power-ups are going to be distributed, whether they're going to be on, like, rails or in blocks yet. My guess would be just normal style, you know, blocks and stuff. Which means we do have to think about... We do have tools here that we're not really, like, using yet, like, bricks and other solids that we can employ, you know. This doesn't have to be bereft of blocks. Like here, for instance. And honestly, these would be good for the potobos, because then, you know, you can use them to get over them. You know, you're in a situation like you're in a situation where, like, let's clear out an area and make an example. One thing that's always a hard thing to do in a Mario level is know what's the good amount of, like, collectibles to put down, or, like, question mark blocks to put down. And how many can be empty? You know, how many can just be a coin? In Mario World, any Mario game any, like, traditional Mario game, you'll find, like, a power-up in, like, 1 out of 3. 1 out of 4. 1 out of 5, maybe. You know, usually groups of question mark blocks don't actually have jack. But in Mario Maker, I do think there is like a urge to be like, yeah, if you're gonna place down a question mark block, have it just be a real one. You know, I think that's more typically what you see in Mario Maker, but I do think that there's value in like making the player investigate each one. Oh, that's a little bit weird. That question mark block takes that guy's takes the top guy off. Also, it's worth noting that like if you kill the top one of them, they'll come back as not in like not stack form. You know, they'll come back as like individuals. A little awkward. Add some more guys there and let's make it interesting. I watched a video about the history of Super Mario World today. It's interesting. Interesting, like, the history of, like, you know, what people thought of it at the time, the development history and all that. Made me appreciate it more, I guess. I don't know. I was never much the biggest fan of Super Mario World, though. I mean, I like it. I think it's a great, fantastic game. I just prefer other 2D platformers of its era, you know? A lot went into it, and, you know, I think it came out... You know, it is one of the best, I guess. Personally, you know, I started with the DKCs, and, you know, I only came to Mario World, like, when the GBA came out. At which time it was, you know, a whole different scene at that time. I guess. Yeah, that feels pretty good. I like that. Got some saws in the air, so it's like slightly dangerous to jump. And that also prevents these guys from following. You can definitely picture some sequences like this where, yeah, you know, you got these guys, they're on your tail. You know, maybe they're being trouble. And then you go through an area where they can't really follow. And, you know, that's that. I think that ducking under those things is good gameplay. The weird thing, it's good. It's. I feel like I'm hedging here. It's just very by the book gameplay of how to make a sequence like this, you know. Where you're just like, a very by-the-book way of, like, dealing with the saw blades, or not the saw blades, maybe. Of using the saw blades and the white stone rafts, right? Where, like, oh yeah, you know, you gotta make it so that you have to stand on them. So duck, so that you have to avoid an obstacle. It's like, ooh, I guess, but I don't know. It is just ducking for like 5 seconds. Is it that interesting? You know, it'd be more interesting if you had to duck for a fraction of a second. You know, if you were on a blue platform. Honestly, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Just place one of these things here. Like, raise these up a bit, maybe. How'd that work out? Well, it's a little more awkward, but it's interesting at least. I still feel like we haven't found Something is missing here. Is it time for hidden blocks? I don't see it. I don't think hidden blocks is the answer here. What is this level going to be? Is the question. Mecha Koopas? Really not feeling like Mecha Koopas. Some cannons. I feel like we have enough projectiles already to play with. It's late. Let's, it's late. On-off stuff, snake block stuff. Snake block and skull platform, they're kind of the same thing. You don't need both. It's kind of redundant to have both, so let's not. Well, I think we've had a couple of ideas here that are pretty good, that give this level some more flavor. I like this bit with the red Koopas. An idea occurs to me, and a thought. I don't know that I've used upside down Buzzy Beetles at all. So why not these guys be right side up, and then have some sequences where, you know, from off of... I have one more idea here. Then from off of, like, the rainbow pipes are yellow G. Off of the rainbow pipes here. What happens if these guys hit the edge? Do they just, like... Oh, they're just sort of locked on there. Cool. Perfect. Okay. Now then. Put some saws, like, here. Make it so that you have to, like... jump almost immediately. But also be some stuff like this, like... Honestly, this sort of construction doesn't look half bad. With, like, a small step in the a small, like, drop-off in the semi-solid. Down one level. Kinda like to look at that. It's not bad. Honestly, can almost make it a little bit more dangerous. It's not bad. And then can have more of... Honestly, they don't have to be in a line like that, even. Well, actually, that does mean that when one comes off... Yeah, that like, you can't just wait for him to leave. You have to deal with it, you know? Lower this all a bit. And do this again. I kind of like that. I still think... I still don't have a clear vision for what this level is going to be. We've done about an hour. But I want to do something that's not just more bullshit, you know? I'm gonna save this version of the level as 8 to BS to, you know, brainstorming 2, or bullshit 2, whatever you like. And, I'm gonna load the actual version of the level, you know, the actual one that's in the, you know, the section of my courses that is the super world, you know. And here's what I'm going to do. Let's delete a little bit up top. And let's start thinking, how exactly would we start this level with the elements that we have now? Try to put together something that, like, feels actual. One thought I have is that to get, like, a transition between the clouds and, well, actually, can use the rainbow thing here. Use that as a nice little transition from one to the other. What's better? Connected or, like, touching or not touching? I think not touching and a little higher. So you jump up here. What's up here? What if you have to climb a little bit to get your mushroom? It's a construction I haven't done in any level. Making one like, it's a little asymmetrical, which is kind of odd. Some ripsaws on, maybe? Yeah, why not? Put a ripsaw on the first screen. Let you know, you know? No. Put like a semi-solid here. And then have like a... Yep, 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 yep. All a little lower, so you can see it on this first screen here. It's kind of interesting to be like able to jump off this to like a higher platform at this point. Maybe the alternative would be to like maybe like there'd be an alternative path that was more risky. More perilous, you know? Raise that up by 1. Okay. Not bad. I don't think this is it, but like something like this would not be too out of line as the start of a level. You know, it gives you a little bit of rainbow, sets up a little bit of like what you'll be doing with the platforms. Even better is if you couldn't, like... Even better would be if you had to drop off before, like, going back over. And there, that sort of tutorializes, like, the sort of things you'll be asked to do. Okay, make this, little lower, so that there's, like, you know, you go under. It's not that much, like, less risky than the low way, honestly. Like, maybe it feels a little better. But if it just continues from the middle path here, and, like, going up there just means that you, don't have to go under a thing. Put a 10 coin here instead. Never too early for a 10 coin. Yes. Wow! That's... Okay. Maybe we'll have to rethink that in the end. That is not ideal if your mushroom just ends up, like, taking a wild ride. Now I'm second guessing it. Also, you can just fucking jump and get that. Okay. You know, this area isn't quite up to snuff. This area isn't quite up to snuff. It's something. How about we build, like, a proper... I mean, if we're being honest... I wanted to have come out of this stream with at least, like, one section that I was sure about, but honestly, this section here is pretty good. It just needs something... Instead of this being a white one, ending in a tire, make it a black one, where you have to go under... Or, sorry, a blue one, where you have to go under a rainbow. Okay, do, like, one lower so you have to duck. Or G. Also, you know what? We can definitely have, like, just solo Buzzy Beetles by, like, sort of like, making little indents like that. Or, like, this, alternatively. And that Buzzy Beetle just won't be able to move at all. Be constrained to where he is. Okay. Honestly, something like this would... Well, that's... Okay. That guy falls too fast on you. That's a silly thing to say. He falls at the speed things fall at. And if he fall, then he, like... Yeah, you know what? That's... Wouldn't be a threat. We can also use these to like, you know, guide the player a little bit. You know, have this be like, do a reverse rainbow here, I guess. I've already started it, so whatever. Have it be that, like, oh, you know, you have to go for the left a little bit and, like, find, you know, go up and then to the left and then up again and then, like, take a skull raft ride the other way. The only thing I'm realizing is that, like, every time I have a skull raft ride be the thing, every time, like, one of these ends in a skull raft to, like, get over a rainbow or something. Oh, that's kind of cool if you have to, like, drop... If you have to, like, drop in between... Oh, ho, 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 ho. I kind of like this. Like, look, isn't this pretty good? Like, if you're, like, riding this motherfucker, and you realize... Okay, there's guys down... Okay! Well... Okay, well... You know, you can add some saws as well. And you realize you have to sort of thread the needle and find, like, a place to go through them! Like, that's pretty thrilling. I like that. That's a pretty good bit. I'll say we found some pretty good bits. I'm still not sure, like, what this level is. Maybe it's like... You know, honestly... One thing I'm always looking for is, like, a way to differentiate the first half and the second half. You know, a way to, like, spice up the second half with a new mechanic, for instance. The second half could be where all the, like, blue raft parts are. And maybe the first half is all white, is all the white variants. You know, slower. Then again, there's plenty of other ideas we have here tonight where you could see them easily, like, getting in there. You know. Could also have some parts where you, like, have to hit a block and climb a vine. Like, that would not be... I mean, honestly, I don't think that's something that's in any of my levels. You know? So that would be actually... That would be something for this level to, like, you know, have to its name. In other words. I think this sequence here has a good chance of getting in pretty much as is. I think the blue plat at the end isn't quite right, but... You know... The ideas... They are beginning to develop. And we're now having some, like, alternate rainbow structures. I don't know. I'm tired. It's late. We've been streaming for about an hour. You know, obviously, I'll say, like, a lot of the previous making streams have been more in the manner of, like, 2 hours. But I think we've made some progress here. Let me try... You know what? I'll give one more attempt here. Let's get rid of this. One more attempt here at, like, what this first section ought to look like. This doesn't have to be... That's... Instead, it could be, You know, it's a construction I used once in, in one level. I keep saying construction. You know, setup. I think setup is more the Mario Maker lingo. How you would describe something. I don't know why I started saying construction. But having it so that, like, oh wow, you can just go around the out. I didn't know that. Wait, can you? Having it instead be... Nah, that doesn't work. I'm not big into that. I mean, it could just be... I don't want... I don't know if I'm ready to give up question mark blocks in this level. You know... But that would simplify things a bit if it was just like, oh... Jump up and grab it, and that's all. And there, it's a little bit symmetrical now. Move it back one. I like there to be distance between the saw and the thing. Yeah, whatever, that looks fine. Add something dangerous down here, then. Okay, haven't really used that too much. Maybe the first screen won't be the first screen I built. I mean, honestly, this part here, jumping over these guys, and then doing some stuff over here, I think that seems pretty sick. I'm not quite as sold on the raft ride, but I think we got some good stuff. Let's do a bit of testing in the vertical. You know what? A little bit of testing in the vertical. You know, remembering these things. Well, actually, hang on. I can easily section this part of the thing out now with not saws, but just, you know, rainbow pipe situations. And that would do just as well, you know? It does make for a low ceiling. And, well, I say a low ceiling. It's as low as you want it to be. There. Yeah, you'll never hit it. And neither will those guys. Well, actually, I did just hit it. Okay, never mind. But still, not a problem. Should this be a flying level? What if you got into one of these clown cars? I haven't had a vanilla clown car, you know, without the ability to shoot in the super world. But, you know, perhaps there's a reason for that. Like, it's not exactly super exciting to be in a clown car that can't shoot. It's like, why would you do it this way when you can do it the other way? I don't know, I kind of like the idea of just using the enemies for that. Just having the enemies be, like, dogging you in clown cars. I don't know. Chain chops? Could be chain chops. Ah! Raise this guy up. Not dangerous enough as is. One more. Where the hell does this lead anyway? I don't mind the chain chomp. Chain chomps would not be a bad addition. I don't know. Oh, right, there's where the thing lets out. Wondering where it lets out the other day. Rainbow's pipes at top also prevent you from abusing the cape too much. This level really can't be played backwards, which is a test I sometimes do where it's like, okay, if I want to get like another taste of like what this level would be like, you know, we play through the elements that I already have, but in reverse, and that changes it into something fresh, you know? There's no way you can find a gap for these. Yeah, there's no way you can get backtrack on this level. Okay, you know, I think we're good. It's 1:30. We've done, I think, a good amount of work here. Some new ideas have come together. You know, a couple, not that many, but like a few. And I think what this level is going to be is like a tiny bit clearer. But honestly, I do think this needs more work. I need to spend more time. I've just been pretty busy and all recently. I feel like, and we're doing one last one, by the way. I feel like, you know, honestly, I should just take my time with it, you know? I believe full well. Let me tell you something I believe in. Let me tell you something I believe in. I believe that, like, all the time something spends in an oven only makes it better, you know? Like, the more time I spend mulling over the ideas, the more inspiration will come to me. The more I will, like, find, you know, a direction to take the level. The more combinations of mechanics will come up. And eventually when everything just feels, is like, sufficiently together, out will pop a completed level. We're nowhere near that, unfortunately. Nowhere near that tonight. I'm not gonna... Actually, yeah, I'll go down there. Wait, what's gonna happen here? Because there's the stuff up above. Okay, you know what? I'll just drag myself up here. It's not gonna happen tonight, but sometime these ideas are gonna become a lot more coherent. And soon enough we'll have a complete level where there was just a bunch of bullshit. Unfortunately, that's where we are tonight. A bunch of bullshit, but... you know, we're getting there. I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, you know what, I just realized something previously. Somehow the timer got set to, like, 200. That's obviously not right, it needs to be 500. That's, I'm gonna call it a wrap. Like I said earlier, this stream, I was intending to have it tomorrow, Tuesday, but ended up having to cancel the Wind Waker stream on account of save file shenanigans. That stream will happen. Let me pull up the schedule. That stream will happen tomorrow. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central, around 8 p.m. Central, ideally. So that is great. There was like a false start today, which I will say I deleted that VOD. That VOD is gone. Can't. It was only like maybe 10 minutes before I realized, like, oh shit. Save. I didn't save. This is all fucked. And I thought for a second, tried to figure out, like, oh, can I just go ahead and do the Triforce hunt? And turns out, like, no, you're gonna need those items from the last VOD. Like, a lot of them. You're basically, I would have to have completed the 2 dungeons. So, you know, what was I to do? Right. Next, tomorrow, we'll get back to that and do some Triforce hunting. I kind of have a whole bunch I want to talk about, you know, stuff that's been happening, and I'll go into detail on that during that stream. You know, like movies I went and saw. You know, I got a whole bunch of cards. I prepared a whole bunch of cards on the assumption that a stream, like a regular playthrough stream, was happening tonight, but instead ended up having to nix that, replay those dungeons, and then after that was done, had some time for making, so, you know, thought might as well do this stream. I'll be back tomorrow, and then Thursday, hello buddy, and then we'll do like a Thursday stream where it'll be a whole bunch of Game Pass stuff. That'll be fun. And then viewer levels, that's Friday. That's the Friday thing. I'll hopefully find time in my free time to, like, work on this level as well. Though I don't know when, you know. Like, look, I got streams 2, 3 of the next 4 days planned out at least, so when am I to do some making? I guess, you know, I guess the answer is, well, when you're watching Sopranos before a stream, or something like that would be a perfectly good time for. I guess, shit, I don't know when I found time for it in like, last year, when I was streaming 3 days a week as well, and yet still had, like, a higher rate of work on the levels. I don't know, things have been busy. What do you want? Alright, I'll be back tomorrow with that Wind Waker stream that was delayed. It'll be on for real tomorrow. I'm gonna do a raid, and let's just see who's online right now. Bregs is doing Minecraft. Crimsone, I don't recall. Oh, you know what? Crimsone is doing Majora's Mask. Let's do that, yeah, sure. Majora's Mask randomizer. Crimsone. Sure, that's fine. A short little making stream for y'all tonight. I have been thinking, like, maybe for these making streams, shorter, like, short and sweet is better than, like, going all night, and also, honestly, I like to make in shorter spurts as well. You know, I like to I like to make for like a half hour maybe, or just like, oh, I have an idea, let me jot it down. You know what I didn't do during this thing? I could have done the whole document cam where I like sketch things out, but I didn't have any ideas to sketch out, I guess. I should also do that more. Sketch out my ideas on like paper, and hopefully then, you know, inspiration will come, you know, a correct layout will come. Anyway, that's enough talking about this and that and all that. I'll see y'all, tomorrow for Zelda, and then Thursday for Game Pass stuff, and then Friday for viewer levels. It's gonna be a busy week, I guess. I'll see y'all, then. I didn't... You know, I have a thing here. Where's my, Alright, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I will see y'all tomorrow, trying to stop the thing. I gotta hold down. Bye!